Hello. I want to talk to you about a movie. It's called Scare Me, and it's on Shudder. And the reason that I want to talk to you about this movie is because if you've watched a couple of my videos by now, you've seen me recommend Werewolves Within and Hard Eyes. If you haven't seen it and are uninitiated, so all this to say is Josh Rubin really is like a goat, and in the horror comedy sphere. And I didn't know about this movie. I had no clue. And this came out in 2020. So this came out way before I jumped on the train for Josh Rubin, whatever metaphorical train I'm speaking of, because I don't hear his name a lot, and his name should be uttered more on the tongues of horror fans. He's genuinely a good creative. But Scare Me is such a different movie, yet still in the horror comedy sphere, but it's such a different film that I didn't expect. And it's also a hard recommend. Like, I love it. I think it's definitely up my alley. But it's a hard recommend because it's not a conventional film told in a conventional way with a conventional narrative. It is two writers stuck in a cabin during a power outage telling each other scary stories. And they just met. One has never published a single thing in their fucking life, but they love writing and they hope to one day. He's also dealing with a lot of personal life drama that gets unraveled through the film. And then you have one writer. She has been published once and has a bestseller, and she makes sure to remind you all the time, consistently. Her ego is insane. And they both come from different planes of life and different realities when it comes to like being a writer. And the whole film is her trying to inspire him to really like dissect a story. So she forces him to tell scary stories in the dark. And they take turns telling these scary stories. And that's pretty much the whole movie. There is a bit more, and I'll get to it. But for 90% of this film, it is them performing these short stories in a moody, atmospheric cabin with glowing personalities because they were both so fucking... What's funny is Josh Rubin directed it, but he is the main actor. Like, let's go. Talk about just, a double threat, triple threat. Like, this guy and he's good. He's not just shit. He's not ass. Like, he's good. His screws are a little loose. When he goes into the cabin, he's like, as most writers are, I can relate. Like, I talk to myself a hell of a lot, too many times, and on occasions, I've answered back. And so he does these things where, like, he'll respond to himself in other voices of characters that he's writing, and he inner monologues everything like his life is a book. And then she is very much on her high horse. Her thing is, being a woman in this industry is hard. And so it takes both archetypes, right? Like the strong female archetype who has a lot of toxic attributes, and then the emasculated man who has a lot of toxic attributes, and it just kind of cancels male and female bullshit out, and it just goes like, it just ridicules both, and it says, hey, it should just be about the art. Nothing else should matter. And I thought it was such a great way to ridicule both, because I think that we need to lighten the fuck up. We're all too fucking serious and worried about the dumb shit. And this movie kind of just makes fun of both sides, but it puts the horror stories front and center. And as the stories unfold, you see visual and audio cues enhance what they're telling, the stories that they're telling. The lighting will dim even more, or you'll get a close-up of a hallway if they're speaking about a scene in their story about a hallway. There's one short story where he is talking about a werewolf. And as he's lurking through the house, because as he's telling the story, he's lurking from the first to the second floor. As he's lurking through the house, you see like the werewolf's hands that are his hands, but in werewolf form, moving through the shadows to sort of enhance the story he's telling. And I thought this was so fucking genius because it is just these two writers performing their art. There's all these other sensory things that we imagine when we're hearing the story, or that we wish people could see, and experience as we're telling it. So you're not getting these full-blown scenes. These actors are acting out with funny voices, and then when it gets scary, they really do they do their damnness to sound scary, and a lot of times they even mimic the movements of some of their creatures and their stories, but they're just trying to scare each other. It's such an endearing concept because while the horror elements are there, it is the celebration of storytelling and the artist and the writer and how hard it can be and how unfair it could be. And it goes into the tropes of horror films, and it dissects. There's even a reference to like cocaine, because as we all know, Stephen King was sleeping in it when he wrote it. So like there's so many awesome references to things that if you are in love with the horror genre, both in books and in film, feels a lot like The Last Video Store. I feel like these two movies were very hard to recommend to like the general audience unless you understood that its vehicle for entertainment was something just different from chases and gore. Like there is a love story here for the artist, and the imperfections and the flaws, and it gets, sometimes they're telling these stories, and as they're telling these stories, you wonder if what part of these stories are formulated from their own life experience. And some of these stories are dark, and they lean into abuse of many forms, all forms, alcoholism, but then there's always a manifestation of a creature or a demon or an entity at the end of these stories. But what's crazy is that they never forget the humor. The humor is it cracked me up, and I know humor is subjective, so I can't say that it works for everybody, but I'm a hard person to bring laughter out of in a comedy. Like I just doesn't, comedy and I just don't quell well. As you can tell, I'm the most unfunny person you'll ever meet. Its comedy is so well written, and its awkwardness. See, it accentuates the awkwardness of the writer and the artist and the process. And so because of that, its awkwardness feels authentic, and it's funny because that awkwardness is real. Then there's a pizza guy who plays a part in this, and the pizza guy stole the fucking show. I need a movie, a spinoff or something with him, because what he brings to this movie when he realizes his favorite author is in a cabin, he jumps into these short stories and he becomes the most genuinely hilarious, coke-fueled, humble storyteller in this entire movie. And I watched that scene twice. It's about 15 minutes. I had to watch it again. He's so good. He was incredible in this. I loved him. He stole the show. And what's even unexpected is that in the third act there is an unexpected twist. While I thought that's where I said the 90% of this movie is just them performing these stories to each other, there is a 10% where things get real. And that's all I'm going to say. Josh Rubin is really proven to understand the melody that exists between comedy and horror. You're in for a really wild and unique ride. I really hope that one of you watches it. I just seem to be having a really good streak of films lately, and that makes me very happy. I'm a simple guy. That's it for me and my face. And I hope you guys have had a wonderful day and are doing awesome, whoever's watching. And yeah, we have a video I'm working on involving The Exorcist that I'm excited for, simply because Mike Flanagan has begun filming, and I have a lot to say about the film that turned me into the nerd that I am. So I hope you guys will be there for it. And with that being said, I will see you guys on Shudder. Deuces.